Hello all, I think we're going to go live in some time. I'm just typing all the questions in so that we can discuss the questions. See the questions on FB, and then we will continue with the discussion here. I'm posting the YouTube link. Many of you have asked where the YouTube link is. It is available on the FB feed. Give it a go. You should be able to find it. It's not so difficult. I wanted to post the YouTube link after we have posted the questions, so that we have some adequate time to look at the questions so that we can discuss that more meaningfully. I'm just posting the questions as well. So I've posted 4 questions. This is a classic DI set. Go through this, take some time for it, and then we can discuss it on YouTube Live. Hi all, I've posted the questions on Facebook. The questions are available there. I hope you're on the right YouTube link. This is the YouTube link. I've posted the YouTube link on Facebook. My colleagues will be pasting the YouTube link on comments and questions wherever you're asking for them. I'm going to give some time, say 4 or 5 minutes, to go through the set. And then we'll set the ball rolling by looking at how to look at this data, what is the fine point here, how to see if there's some nuance sitting there, and how to tease it open. Right. So the question is there, the pictures are there, and the data set is there on Facebook. And I'm going to take about a couple of minutes, and then we'll look at how to solve this. And so take some time and have a go at these questions. I'm posting the YouTube link one more time so that you can see very clearly. And I'm going to keep the YouTube link open on my machine as well so that we can see what's going on. I've seen lots of questions coming on YouTube. I'm going to focus on solving this data set. The ideas on solving on how to prepare for DI, how to prepare for DI for specific case, how to prepare for DI for one instance, all of that will come a little later. So I'm going to focus on solving this data set. The data set has already been posted, so can we go through that, finish that off, and then we'll come back to this. The rest of the discussions we'll take that later on. So hit the question, try to solve that. Then we'll go on to discussing the other bits on here. I've got a ping on volume being low. I've jacked up the volume. I've increased the volume to the maximum level possible. So I think we're good on the volume front. And I've taken some time posting this. So now that little bit of posting has been done, I'm going to think in terms of how to go about solving this. Right? So I'm going to flip this. We've had enough of looking at the person, so I'm going to flip this and go to the screen. And I'm going to share my entire screen. So there's something scandalous that comes there, so kindly ignore that. That's not something that we want to see. Super. The question we're dealing with is this one. Total revenues are 1,800 crores. Overall profit margin is 10%. And total revenue is 1,800 crores. Overall profit margin is 10%. The division with the largest revenue has the least profit margin, but not the least profits. Right? The division with the profit margin higher than all others generates the least profit. Profit margin is higher, but it generates the least profit. But that sentence is a big giveaway. Margin is high, profits are low. That is telling us that the highest profit margin company is likely to have low revenue base. Could be the lowest or close to the lowest, somewhere there. That's what we're looking at. So this sentence is a giveaway. Very often I find that DI gets solved in a very textbook algebraic manner. That doesn't quite work. You have to figure out what is the constraint, what is the tricky part that you need to focus on. What is the takeaway from this sentence? Where am I going to start this puzzle? What is going to crack open this for me? That's very important. Exactly one division has the same profit margin as the overall company. Company D generates more profit than company E. And so the bunch of data points. The most important point here is this one. The division with the profit margin higher than all others generates the least profit. That's important. That's going to be crucial somewhere. Right? Exactly one division has the same profit margin as the overall company. That is also vital. But first, let's go and look at the charts. And it's a beautiful question because the revenue pie chart has all A, B, C, D, E very clearly given for us. And so the total revenue is 1,800 crores. The profit pie chart does not have all of this. We don't know which company has made 27.78 of the overall profit, which company has made 19.44 of the overall profit. That's important. And so that idea is something that we need to take away. Overall profit margin is 10%. What does that tell us? The total here is 180. That much we know. What are we going to do? First step, we're going to find all these numbers. Let's deal with the number. Let's see the revenue number and the profit number, and then we'll build from there. Okay, so 16.67. 16.67 is 1/6. So looking at 1/6 of 1800, this is 300. 25% is 1/4, so this is 450. 8.33%, half of 1/6, so this is 150. This is again 1/6, so 300 crores. This is the remaining 1/3 of this, so this is 600 crores. So we've got the revenues of each company, fairly simple. Now let's move on to profits. Again, 16.67 is 1/6. It's wonderful. 1/6 of 180 is 30 crores. That we've got. These numbers are trickier. You don't have to worry about that. 22.22 is 2 by 9. 2 by 9 times 180, this is 40 crores. This is wonderful. And so we're getting somewhere with this. 2 by 9 of 180. If you know that 22.22 is 2 by 9, then this life becomes easier here. You can get to the number straight away. And this 27.78 is 22.22 plus some 5.5. So another 5.5%. 11.11 is 1 by 9, 1 by 18 more than that, so 10 crores more than that. So this is going to be 50 crores. Get all these numbers, you're going to be given a calculator, so that does make life easier, right? So this number here is 35 crores. So some percentage less than this. So 30, 35, 40, 50. 30 plus 40 is 70. 70 plus 50 is 120. 120 plus 35 is 155. We've accounted for 155. Totally there's 180. Remaining 25 crores is this one. Fabulous. We've computed the numbers. We're looking at the profits per division numbers of 25, 30, 35, 40, and 50. We're looking at overall revenue numbers. For this, we know A, B, C, D, and E. And so getting these numbers is a starting step. The more comfortable you are with percentages and fractions, the simpler this becomes. And so we've nailed this. We've got all this data. Let's build on this. Now, there's one very interesting constraint here, which is exactly one division has the same profit margin as the overall company. What does that mean? This one division also has a 10% profit margin. Right? Same profit margin as the overall company. It's a very important statistic. Look at these two pies. If the profit margin is the same as the overall company, then share of revenues and share of profits for that company should be the same. Whatever share of revenues this company has, you should have the same share of profits, where the profit margin of the company and the overall on that division are same. So if you look at these percentage numbers and these percentage numbers, one of them will be same. The share of profit and share of revenues will be same, and that's what you're looking at. And the only number that is common, this funny 16.67% number, which is here. So this should be either company A or D. Funnily enough, that's not a big giveaway because there are two companies with the same share of revenue. The profit margin for a division is same as that of the overall company. And share of revenues for the division will be equal to share of profits for the division. So this division, which makes a profit of 30 crore, should be A or D. We do not yet know whether it is A or D, but it's one of these two. Right? Now let's keep building on this. These are the questions. I'm going to go further. Here we know the revenues 300, 450, 150, 300, 600, just capturing this like a table. The profit numbers are 35, 40, 25, 30, and 50. This we've already computed. I'm just capturing this in table format. I'm going to go constraint by constraint. Exactly one division has the same profit margin as the overall company. This we already figured out. A or D should be the company with 30 crores profit with a profit margin of 10%. This again we have done. Right? Let's build on this. Division with a profit margin higher than all others generates the least profit. The profit margin higher than all others is least profit. So the least profit is 25 crores. This we know. So this 25 crore profit is generated by the highest profit margin. So what profit margin should that be? Which division should that be? Think about it, the profit margin is very high. Profit margin higher than all others generates the least profits. And the margin is higher, it generates the least profit. Company C has the least revenue. It has only 150 crore revenue. We've already seen that. So chances are this company will have the highest profit margin. With the company with the highest profit margin, you have revenue into margin, which gives us profits. We know the profit margin is high, but the profit is low. With the highest profit margin, you generate the least profits. That means revenue should be low, should be very, very low. The high profit margin still not able to offset the fact that the revenues are so low, so my profits are small. That's a very interesting idea. If indeed company C were this company, then this 150 crore revenue should be generating a 25 crore profit. So the profit margin is 1/6, be 16.67%. If it made any other profit, its profit margin would be higher. Remember that this 25 crore profit it is made by company C, then profit margin would be 16.67. Now, if 25 crore profit were made by any other division, the profit margin of that division would be less than 16.67%, and profit margin of C would be higher than that. And so this contradicts the condition that we have been given. So this means very clearly this company C makes profit of 25 crore with having a revenue of 150 crore. And big takeaway here. It's a big giveaway here. The division with the profit margin higher than all others generates the least profit. The least profit is 25 crore. That is generated by a company that has the maximum profit margin. That means the revenue of that company has to be small. So we're looking for a company with a very small revenue. That is company C. Company C has a revenue of only 150 crores. That is not just small, that is noticeably small compared to the others. That means if this were not the scenario, if C generated some other profit, then its profit margin would be higher, and therefore it will contradict the condition. So we've got now that the 25 crore profit belongs to company C, and it has a profit margin of 16.67%. Let's build further. Probably one or two other conditions that are wonderful. So let's come back to our original condition list and see what else we can tease out from here. We know that C has a profit of 25 crores. Exactly one division has the same profit margin as the overall company that you have seen. D generates more profits than E that you have seen. The division with the largest revenue has the least profit margin, but not the least profits. Largest revenue is 600 crores that E has. It has the least profit margin, but not the least profits. That is one condition which we still need to look at. I'm going to go back here to whatever we have done so far. We've inferred that C should be 25. We know that either this is 30 or this is 30 with a profit margin of 10%. We know that D should have generated more profits than E. Think about this. The profit numbers are 25, 30, 35, 40, and 50. D should have got more than E. But if this were 25, D cannot have got 30 because E would have definitely got more than 30. What this tells us is A has got profit of 30 crores and A has a profit margin of 10%. Super. Now we have only 35, 40, and 50 left for D, E, B. Let's build on this. D, E, and B should have profits of 35, 40, and 50, and in some order. Let's build on this. Super. We're just capturing this data. E has the least profit margin, but not the least profit. We've seen this 600 crores, highest company has the least profit margin, but not the least profit. Company D generates more profits than company E. So E does not generate the most profit either. So E is bang in the middle, 30, 35 or 40. It's not 30 either, it's 35 or 40. One of these two. So D should have earned either 50 or 40. Right? So because it's higher than D. Let's look at this. Let's build on this. We know that company D should have seen 35, 40 or 50. It should be more than E. If D generates 50 crores, think about this. If D generates 50 crores of profit, then what will be the profit margin of D? Profit margin of D would be 50 by 300 into 100 or 1/6, which is 16.67%. Now remember, company C has a profit margin of 16.67%, and we know that that is higher than everyone else. We know that. Right? So since we know that C has got more than everyone else, D cannot have a profit margin of 16.67%. So D cannot have made profits of 50 crores. E cannot have made profits of 50 crores. A and C profits we know. Right? A and C we know the profits for. Remaining numbers are 35, 40 and 50. 50 is not E, that we know, because D has more profits than E. We know D has not generated 50. This also we know. How do we know this? We know this because if D had generated 50, then D's profit margin should have been 16.67%. And that is not good enough. Why is that not good enough? Because the profit margin seen by C is higher than everyone else. The company that sees a profit margin higher than every other company sees the least profit. That is the first company. So this is the highest profit margin. It is higher than everything else. So D cannot have seen profit of 50, because otherwise D's margin would be 16.67%. So that leaves only B. B should have seen a profit margin of 50 crores. So we have B also taken care of. We have only 35 and 40 left. D should have seen a profit of 40 crores and E should have seen a profit of 35 crores. We can calculate the margins for the rest of them. 50 by 450 is 1 by 9, which is 11.11%. 40 by 300 is 4 by 30, 2 by 15, 2 by 15 into 100. So it is 40 by 3, you can find that number. So 13.33%. 35 by 600 into 100, find that number. All profit margins you can find, all profits we have already found, all the revenues were handed to us on a platter. It's a wonderful question. I'm going to do a quick recap as well after filling in all the data. And so just to recap the thought process, more than E, 35 or 40, this cannot be 50. So this has to be 50. If this is 50, this is 40 and this is 35. Right? So that is the idea that we have seen. So D cannot have seen 50 crores. That's very critical. D not equal to 50. Because if D were 50, then D's margin would be 16.67%. And that does not work for us because the margin of 16.67% that C sees must have been higher than everything else out there. So D cannot have seen 50. Therefore, B is 50. This is 40. This is 35. We've got the complete grid sitting with us. Now, any question from here on is going to be very simple. Solving the question part is going to be very straightforward once you've got this. Right? So now I'm going to go and just mark all the answers. How much profit did company A make? 30 crores is one of the first inferences that we made. What is the profit margin of company B? Profit of 50, revenues of 450, 11.11%. How much profit did company E make? E is less than D, not 50, 35 crores. Which company saw a profit margin of 13.33%? 13.33%. If I'm not mistaken, it is D. I don't remember the numbers right now. I think it is D. We made a profit of 40 crores on a base of 300. Done all of this, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen and then go back to the YouTube bit, answer a bunch of questions there, see what's happening there, and then come back to this. I don't know how to stop sharing the screen. Let me just check. Yes, it works. So I'm going to go back to YouTube and answer a bunch of questions that are sitting there. So right now I'm answering this question. So a bunch of people have been asking questions. I'm sure the other guys are answering them. So I've not been answering these questions because I've been speaking to you on YouTube. And so I've handled this session. It's a fabulous question because it's not that easy and it's not that difficult because it has some bits that you can start with. And so I'm going to go over the key parts that you probably should have kept in mind while doing this. The 1,800 crore revenue number, you take that, rip it apart, find all the numbers, stick it in. The 180 crore profit number, take that, find all the profit numbers, stick them in. First point here, one company has profit share and revenue share the same, because it's the same profit margin as the overall company. So once you crack open that one thing, then you can say that the profit company that has profit share same as revenue share, either A or D. So A or D should have seen a revenue number of 30 crores. We get that, stick it in. Now the next part is the company that has a profit margin higher than everything else has the least profit. So you have a high profit margin and least profit. That means your revenue number should have been very small. So we chase the revenue company which has the least revenue number, which is C, which is 150 crores. This 150 crores is so much smaller than everything else. So straight away you can sense that look, C has to be this company making a small least profit. So we plug that in and then verify to see whether that is definitely correct. So the 150 crore revenue number company has a profit of 25 crore, profit margin of 16.67%. Stick that 16.67% in, the profit margin number in. The profit value 25 crores in. Now we know that D makes more profit than E and C makes 25. So D cannot have made 30 crore profit. So the 30 crore profit number is A. That we've got profit number for two companies and revenue profit margins for two companies. Then we make a couple of inferences about D and E and go through to the finish. Okay, so I'm going to take a mini break for 4 or 5 minutes where the YouTube live video is still on, because if that were not on, then we'll lose the link. We're going to start all over again. I'm going to answer questions on FB, post the next questions on Facebook there, and then come back to YouTube and continue with solving that. And so when we're finished, done with question 1, set 1, I'm going to go to set 2. And so all questions, keep posting them on FB and on YouTube. Either both places, we will answer them. We might not be able to answer them right now because we are looking to handle the session. We will handle a class on how to prepare for DI, how to plan for LR as well on YouTube and Facebook like this. So the strategy question, how to plan, how to prepare, that aspect of it, keep that aside for a short while. We will come to that. But right now, we're going to crack these two. We've done one, we're going to start the next. I'm going to post the question on FB and then come back here. So right now I'm going to post questions post the next question on Facebook, and then we'll come back and solve this. So again, it's one of my favorite questions. It has lots and lots of charts. So that's going to be a good challenge. So set 2 on Facebook. Huge question. I'm just posting the question, and then I'm going to post each chart at a time. Okay? Because we're doing this on YouTube also, I'm going to post the questions here as well. So set 2. I'm right now just taking the questions from the discussion thing posting it here. All the questions have been posted there. So people are looking to see the set 2 question and see the questions and charts and all of that. Hit Facebook, because Facebook is a better interface for sticking pictures. Doing DI, so the graph becomes very important. So stick to see the picture, go to Facebook, try the question, and then when you're actually solving it, we'll come back to YouTube to discuss it. We are using 2 interfaces, but these are standard interfaces, they are good. So go for it. I'm going to post all these pictures. There are about 5-6 different graphs for this. So that's going to take some time. So hang in there. The YouTube session has not stopped. Definitely not. We moved on to question number 2, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different graphs. So obviously there's a little bit of a challenge. So hang in there. Once the questions are posted, then we'll discuss this in more detail. It's pretty challenging because you're going across 2 interfaces. It does become a little bit of becomes slightly tricky. New numbers and then Facebook insists on saying that this could not be posted. I'm just in the process of posting the questions. Those of you who are following us on YouTube and FB, go to FB to see the questions. I'm just posted all the charts. I'm just pasting the questions so that when you're done with the questions as well, we can go on to YouTube and start discussing this. Again, a wonderful question. This is a far simpler question than the previous one. It has lots of charts. So it's a beautiful, intimidating question. The kind of question that I really like because it throws you off your game. It makes you worried about what's happening because there are lots of data, lots of charts, lots of questions. So that part makes it sound tricky. I'm not going to discuss it right now. You might have just seen the chart. So they are on pause right now for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to keep talking about this and that. Maybe this is a good time to answer the questions on how to prepare for DI and LR. But I'm not going to discuss this data set. And so those of you who are trying it, maybe you can just mute YouTube if you're trying very intently, or remove your headset speakers. Try the question. But I'm not going to discuss it straight away. There's lots of data sets, so I don't want to discuss that immediately. So perhaps in 5 to 6 minutes time, we will be ready to discuss. So Indian Standard Time 22:36. We have about it. So you get 5 minutes. You don't have to solve it completely in those 5 minutes, but go through the data set, make some sense of it. Think about what is the first thing to crack. Maybe the first idea to carve open. What are the first set of data points to stick into the table? How do we go step by step from there? All of that, and then we will do this. I'm going to take this 3-4 minute opportunity to discuss about how to prepare for DI and LR. So very often the DI sets. I noticed a couple of things that go wrong in DI and LR. One is the data approach or the puzzle approach is very linear. And so you got a bunch of constraints. You look at each constraint at a step, and then write equations, frame it as X, Y, and list everything down. By the time you're done with it, your sense of intuition about what might have been the easiest place to crack it goes away. You just written down all constraints, right? So there is usually some one thing that screams out of the set and says, look, start here. This is a starting point. In this question, the starting point, the question that we discussed earlier, there are two starting points. One is to say 30 crore profit is for A or D. That should scream out and say, look, I got that going. Second is to say 25 crore profit is for the 150 crore revenue. C is 25. The moment you make the second inference, C is make profit of 25 crore. Therefore, A should have seen the profit of 30 crore. D is something else. If that is that, then you can make every other inference after that. Fine. So, but that those two should just pop out. A or D, 16.67% of share of revenue and profit. So that is the company that has same profit margin as the overall one of these two, A or D. So A or D we know makes a profit of 30 crores. We know C makes a profit of 30 crores. Therefore, it's only A, not D, for the 30 crore number. Plug that in and then build from there. And so very often the cracking open part, you don't pause to think of the data. You don't pause to look at it and say, look, high profit margin, but least profits. I'm looking at low revenues. What is a company that has low revenues? Now I know the C. Can I establish the C? Then move on from there. So the mathematical equation framing approach goes out of the window, especially the last 2-3 cats. It's not computation heavy. It's not time pressure heavy. It's not something that you find the highest and lowest and third highest and fifth lowest and all of that. It is something that and then you have to carve it open by it's like a half a puzzle, half a DI thing. Very much like what we saw before. So you have to find out which inference is critical to get going. And that part is very, very important. So build a sense of intuition about data. Anytime you hear data, we hear data so much these days on our television sets, on our computer screens. We see so much data which is fake data presented to convey one impression. Every time there is data and then inference, you should question that. Say, look, this inference looks funny. Somebody is trying to peddle a thesis. I'm not comfortable with this. What assumption is he making there? What might make this inference be wrong? And I look for that. So every time you see presented data, they can show you if you're watching cricket, they'll show you that in power play 3, India always scores more than the opposition. Which could be completely backwards because one match India would have done 90 runs and the opposition could have scored 32 because they were collapsing. And that might change the entire statistics, but it might not be an inference, it's just one anonymous data point that's driving everything. So every time you see a data-driven inference, you should go, look, why might this be wrong? What is funny here? Why should I worry about this data? This is presented to me, given to me on a platter. I want to know what assumption is underlying for this to be true. So if you can find that assumption and you can break that open, then brilliant. So throughout, keep questioning data sets. Keep questioning presented data. That might help build data intuition. Whenever it's presented in a puzzle context, in a DI set context, look for the one condition that will carve open. The best starting constraint is a gift if you have. Probably I'm using the wrong word saying gift as if it is not something that you can acquire over time, but look to get it. Don't solve very linearly throughout. Don't say frame equation after equation after equation. You should say, look, what is my first thing? I've got all the data. It looks funny, brilliant. What is the first thing that leaps out for me? What am I going to start with? Spend a lot of time on that. And every time you see any data, any chart, look for anomalies, look for some insight, something funny. Economist has a feature called as daily chart. Look at that. Forget the theses, forget the written text, forget the comments. Just look at this data and say, look, what inference can I draw from this? What does this tell me? And if that has to be validated, what else do I need to know? And so a lot of fake news is peddled with fake data or true data. Data doesn't lie, inference is lie. So the data is generally true. So look for the data and the fake inference and then plug it in. Right? So I've spoken on for a while, so I'm going to go back to the solving part. I can see a bunch of questions. We'll solve this and then come back to seeing how we can answer those questions as well. So I'm going to go to the set. I hope you guys have had a good look at it. I'm going to look at all this data point. I'm going to switch to screen share, show the data table, go through the text there, the inference is there, and then come back and solve it. Right? So I'm going to try to switch screen share mode. Here we are, screen share, entire screen share. I hope you guys now get the screen that I'm looking at. So I'm going to go back to point options. Super. Now I'm going to read this and then go step by step. I know quite a few of you have read this, completely solved quite a few bits of this, but I'm going to go step by step from here on. And I'm going to go a little quicker. You've got about 6-7 minutes to scan through the data. Right? Godliness Inc, a religious firm run by good Samaritans, likes to plant clues about its revenue number so that its employees get a near spiritual aha moment while uncovering that. So this is waffle. Why should we not have fun? Okay. Company has 5 divisions: P, Q, R, S, and D. The year 2012 was declared the year of Saturn, as the company saw a revenue decline of 2.727. 2.727 is an interesting number. It's a funny number. It can be represented as a fraction. But I should pop up and say 2.727. What is the fraction? What is this as a fraction? And so learn that art, learn that skill. That's very vital. What is 27.27 percentage as a fraction? What is 9.09 percentage as a fraction? 9.09 percentage into 3 is 27.27. By 10 is 2.727. I've placed all the clues here, a little bit like Godliness Inc. And so find this 2.727% as a fraction so that you know where you're heading. Apart from this, the company saw a good half decade from 2010 to 2015. Right? The year revenue decline is declared as an evil year, so quite like GDP-driven economies of the current era. The 2010 and 2014 revenue breakups are as follows. Total revenues in 2010 was 1,000 crores, and the company saw 28% growth in revenue from 2010 to 2014. Fabulous. So 2010 number is 1,000 crore. 2014 number is 1,280. 2012 saw a revenue decline. And super. We know these two charts. We know this is 1,000. So we know this is 150. This is 150. This is 175. This is 300. This is 225. Fabulous. We got this. You know this is 128. This is 1/4 of that 32. 320. 1,280. This is 1/4 of that 320. This is 12 and a half. 12 and a half is 1/8 of that 160. I don't really know 18.675 as a percentage, as a fraction. So I'm going to add these two. 320 plus 320 is 640. 800 are gone. We have 480 remaining. And so 240, 240. Got a revenue breakup of all these companies in 2010 and 2014. We've got the pie chart that gives us the shares. We've got the overall numbers, so we can break this down and find each company's revenues in 2010 and 14. Fabulous. So we want to know 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've already got 2 years. Growth rates in 2014, 6.67. Come on, jump out and say what percentage this is. 66.67% is 2/3. 6.67% is 2/30 or 1/15. This is 20% growth or 1/5. 9.09% growth or 1/11. Minus 8.57%. This is tricky. Maybe we need to use a calculator for this. 28%. This is interesting. 1.28 times something takes us to this point. So we've been given the growth rates in 2014. We know the numbers in 2014. From this, we can find the numbers of 2013. So 2010, we've got. 2014, we've got. 2013, we can find. So it's a dotted tick. And so far, so good. The revenue numbers added per division in 2012 are as follows. So we've got P declining by 40 crores, Q up by 10 crores, R down by 10 crores, S up by 10 crores. For T, we don't know the data. So we don't know that yet. So maybe something there we need to find out. Now, the breakup of revenues added in 2011 are as shown below. In 2012, we know these are the different numbers. T, we don't know whether it's 0 or missing. Figure that out. 2011, this is the revenue added in 2011, not the total revenues of the year 2011. So whatever was added from 2010 to 11 has been added in this ratio. Wonderful. So let's go back to this. These are the questions. So we know 2010 and 2014 numbers straight away. This we found out. We can all this up. This we found out. All these add up to 1280. So we know we can find this as well. And this goes up by 6.67%. So 1/15th of whatever it was gone. So 2013 revenues, if it were X, this should be X into 16 by 15. That's 160. So X is 150 crores. And so just using the ratios, we can simplify all of that. This grew by 20%, it should have been 200. This is 9.09% or 1/11th. So we can find this number. 20 by 220 is 1 by 11. It's minus 8.6%, 350. Down by 30, 30 by 350. It's 28%, 250 to 320. So we've got 2013 numbers as well. 2010 we've got, 2014 we've got, 2013 we've got. I'm rushing through this part, not computing every number here. If we know this, we can find this. If this were X, X plus X into 1 by 16, sorry, 1 by 15 is this. If this were X, X into 1.2 is this. If this were X, X plus X by 11 is this. If this were X, X plus 0.0857X is this. If this were X, 1.28X is this. That is the equation you are using to solve this and find all 2013 numbers. Super. So we've got 2010, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Revenue growth by division is given for the year 2012. The total revenue growth is minus 30 crores. So the revenues declined by 30 crores. This corresponds to a decline of 2.72%. 2.727%. You've already seen 27.27% is 9.09%. We know what that corresponds to. So 22.727%. You should know that as a fraction. 2.727%. You've already seen this one, so I'm going to go all the way back there. 2.727%. What do we have here? 9.09% into 3 is 27.27%. By 10 is 2.727%. So what is that as a fraction? That as a fraction here is going to be 3 by 11. We know that the total revenue subtracted in 2012 was 30 crores. So add that will come down from 1100 crores because we know the share from 2011 to 2012. If this were X, then this was X minus X into 3 by and 2.727% is this. So 1 by 11 into 3, 3 by 11 by 10, 3 by 110. Or if we know this is 1070, we can know that this is 1100. So we know from here to here, we have seen a decline of 2.72%. So we can find this total number and this total number, both of them. And the total revenue growth is minus 30. Revenues declined by 30 crores. And this corresponded to a decline of 2.727%. 30 crores is 2.727%, or the total number here should have been 1100. Therefore, total number here is 1070. So we know the totals here. Now, revenue growth in 2011 is 100 crores. You've seen from here to here is 100 crores. We know revenue added, the share. The revenue added total 100 crores was 10, 30%, 25%, 20% and 15%. Or the revenue added actual number would be 10 crores, 30 crores, 25, 20 and 15. If you go back one step, 10 crores added 160, 30 crores added. For some reason the screen share thing is not cooperating. My PowerPoint has crashed. So I have to do something about this. See. Task manager. Okay, do this. And we'll start all over again. Not the end of the word. This has happened before. We cannot have short for so many videos without PowerPoint crashing. So I know what to do. Just kill PowerPoint and start all over again. Restart. So PowerPoint will restart now. Sorry, you're going to have to see all this on screen share, but I'm going to go all the way down here. The main inference is till here. I'm going to go back here, get my pen going, and then see this. So from here, this is 160, this is 180, 30 crores get added, get 25 gets added, this is 200, 20 gets added, this is 320, and 15 gets added, this is 240. But numbers for 2010, 11, 12, 10, 11, 13 and 14. 2012 is the only missing number, but we know that 2012 total adds up to 1070. We also know what is the decline and increases in 2012. This declined by 40, plus 10, minus 10, plus 10 and 0. No change in T. So 160 becomes 120, down 40, plus 10, minus 10, plus 10 and stays flat. So we've got 2012 numbers as well because the changes have been given in this bar graph. So the T change, this is just 0. It's not a missing number, T is 0. So minus 40, plus 10, minus 10, plus 10 and 0. That gives us 2012 numbers. So we've got the entire grid. This we knew straight away. This we knew straight away. These two came from the pie charts. This came from the growth rate numbers. The key part was this. This was down 30, and this corresponded to a 2.72%, 727% drop. 9.09% is 1 by 11. So 27.27% is 3 by 11. 2.727% is 3 by 110. 3 by 110 of x is 30. Or we can find x by this and simplify. X is 1100 crores, or this is 1100, this is 1070. We made those inferences. Once we got this 1100 and 1070, we know the total is 1100. We know 100 crores have been added totally. So we can know share of addition. From there, we can see what has been added by PQRST that we know here. So we can find each revenue number for 2011. Once you know that, we know what is the change from 11 to 12 based on the bar graph that we saw. So we can find each revenue number from 2000 based on 2011 numbers and the change. We can find the 2012 numbers. Once you've got everything going, what is the total revenue in 2012? 1070 crores. Which years are the highest percentage growth in revenues? This is 10%. This is down. This is 100 by 1070. That doesn't work. This is 110 by 1170. We don't need to find this. We just need to know whether it is more than 10%. 1170, 10% of that is 170. That is less than, so this is less than 10%. So the highest growth rate here is 2011. What were the revenues in rupees crores in division Q in 2011? Look at the table and answer this question. 2011 division Q 180 crores. What are the revenues in rupees crores in division R in 2012? Again, you're going to look at this. I don't remember these numbers. R is 190 crores. That's all the questions based on this. So I'm going to go back to the screen share base. Flip my screen share. That. I've stopped sharing the screen, so now I should be back on live. Now I'm going to look to answer some of these questions. I'm going to look at the YouTube screen and then see how did you know revenues 2011 was 1100 crores. Your magic. If when a decline of 2.727% corresponds to a decline of 30 crores. 2.727% of something is 30. That something should be 1100. Right? So the 2.727% of something is 30 crores. So that something is 1100. So of 1100 crores, a 30 crore decline forms 2.727%. So with that we find 1100, and therefore we find the 1070 for 2012. So 2011 numbers are known, therefore you can find 2012 numbers. 11 and 12 are known. You already knew everything about 10, 13 and 14. Fill the gaps for individual revenues. What else is there? I'm just trying to scroll through the questions. How much time to invest on each DI set and exam? Based on what you have seen in the last 2 years, if you get 2 DIs and 2 LRs, then you're looking at 98 to 99%, possibly even more. So 2 DIs and 2 LRs over a 1 hour time period. So you're looking at 15 minutes per DI set. But this is accounting for no time lost anywhere, and you will lose time in dumping a DI set after doing a while, dumping some LR doing a while. But if you take the benchmark as 10 to 11, you're completely on fire and you go all the way bang bang bang, you're going to do 5 or 6, 5.5. But if you miss, if you go halfway through one and then dump it, if you try some parts and then skip it, then at a rate of 10 to 11 minutes per DI set, you'll get to a rock star score in DILR. So you're looking at 10, 11, 12 minutes per DI set. The DI sets will be as easy or as tough as the one that you've seen today. So today's DI set, you should set yourself a target of going after it and cracking it in about 12 minutes time. But if you get that, it's not a modest percentile, but you're looking at 98, 99 percentile. It's properly rock star percentile if you get that. Then how do you calculate so fast? I've been doing it for some time to create these questions. So I planted these numbers. So I know the 1/15s and 2/9s are already sitting there because I created each of those numbers. I wanted to say 2.727% is a good number. That's why I planted that in the first place. Therefore, I have a very unfair advantage in computation speed. Well, decline from 2011 to 2012 is 40% of 40 crores. I'm not able to understand that question. We'll come back to that. While calculating for 2011, while adding up the revenue, adding again 10% of 2010, well, I'm not understanding that either. The question is, why are we not considering individual revenue? Not getting that. So probably we asked, you probably have to explain your questions that a little bit more. I saw that you decided all the questions beforehand. We calculated a bunch of numbers beforehand. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to go to this data. I'm trying to answer some of the questions that you've been asking there. I'm just seeing what other questions are there on Facebook. So if there's a lull here, because I'm scrolling through the Facebook feed. I'm back on thing. We had some tech glitches there. We're trying to figure something out. Some volume thing was wrong, so we need to fix that up. So super. Next time around, we'll do this a little bit better. I want your thoughts and feedback on the YouTube event and the Facebook event. I quite enjoyed myself. I didn't expect it to go this well because I thought I was very worried about the tech stuff. So this was good. In one sense, the data coming through well, the tech coming through well has been a big pleasant surprise for me. So I did not expect it to go through this well. No sound, quite a few comments on no sound. That's because we were trying to figure something out. So we muted the voice, and then we're back now. So sorry about that. Whatever we're trying to figure out, I don't even know whether we figured it out. So sorry about this. I should probably told you that we're going on mute. Fine. Questions on any particular pointers while choosing DI sets? So the two extremes. One is lots of numbers and computation. Other is lots of puzzle-like solving and figuring out. Whichever you have to find out what you are comfortable with, and then stick to that, and then go towards that. In terms of calculators, which is mental calculation, anything you don't get, go to the calculator. But knowing your percentages and fractions, that is frightfully useful. Knowing what is 1 by 10, 1 by 11, 1 by 12, 1 by 16, 1 by 15 as a percentage, that is frightfully useful. So look for that, chase that relentlessly. How many DI and LR sessions should we do every day? One per day of each is good enough. So it's going to take you 25 minutes for that. Spend that, keep that relentlessly on. Read for an hour and a half every day. Do some quant. This is an exam where you need to prepare with intensity. You should be looking at 3-4 hours and not 10-14 hours. That leads to burnout and lack of intensity. So keep that in mind. I shared a couple of other questions written down as well. If my PowerPoint cooperates, we'll have a go at that as well. PowerPoint just let us down one other time. So we're going to have a go at one other type of question just to know how to interpret data. And so I had listed down a set of questions so that we can discuss data interpreting. What does some type of data presentation mean? So I'm going to go to that particular slide, and then we're going to have a go at that. You guys please hang on. I'm going to go back to screen share and discuss one set of questions. I hope you all can see my screen now. Question 1: if A earns 20% more than B, does B earn 20% less than A? That should be the question. So think about that. Right? But that's not what I wanted to discuss. 2, 3, and 4. Those are the important points. Right? Party X got a vote share of 32% in the last election and won 28 out of 60 seats. They won only 30% of votes in this election, but won 36 out of 60 seats. What might explain this? Their vote share shrinks, but their seat share increases. What might underpin this? What might be happening? Why does this happen? How can this happen? Think about that. Right? Second one, the Scottish National Party and UKIP both won 10% of votes in the last election. The Scottish National Party won more than 50 seats. UKIP won only one. What might explain this? Suppose given this data point, what do you tell the guy? This is bleeding obvious. This is what? This must be a party like this. That must be a party like that. I want you to make that inference. Every time you see present and data, I want you to work on making inferences. It could be wrong, but you have to learn the art of hypothesizing. Oh, this should be the reason. And then now I'll go back and check if that is indeed the reason. India, while chasing in the ODI, went through a 10-over phase where they consistently increased their run rate. But during this phase, the required run rate also consistently increased. What might explain this? And so their run rate increased, their required run rate also increased. So what might explain this? Right? So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. The 3 questions that I've given. So try all 3. I'm going to see if I can post all 3 as questions on YouTube. So you can see this. Question 1 is this. RTX got a vote share of 32%, but 128 out of 30. Cases of best to win. What does that mean? I don't understand that thing. Okay, but you probably got the right answer, but I want you to explain even better. Whether or more voting people, if not more voting people, something else. Party X got a vote share of 32% and won only 28. They won a lesser vote share but won more seats. They've got a fabulous explanation, very simple, not rocket science. Think about it. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Votes split among other parties. Correct, correct. What is the hypothesis for the first one? Votes split among more parties. Why might that happen? That's more or less the right explanation. We have what is called as, most countries have what is called as the first past the post system. So if there are more parties, then you can win a seat with a lesser vote share. So if there are two parties going head to head, then you can win a seat pretty much only if you get more than 50%. Where three parties are equally on a tough three-way contest, with 35% you might win the seat. If there are four, with 26 you might win the seat. If the number of parties increases, then the lesser vote share can give you a higher seat share. So if your vote share shrinks and your seat share increases, then there are more parties in the fray. Right? So that is the inference. Right? Now between this S&P vote share and the seats they lost, decrease, or not, that's another hypothesis. So you can say that they're winning some seats with a whopping, they're winning with a small minority and then disappearing in the seats which are not present. That's another hypothesis. But if other data is not present, my primary hypothesis would be more parties are coming. Many more parties have come in, they've all taken a share. So the percentage of votes in a seat required to go past the post, become first, has shrunk. So the lesser vote share, you can win a higher thing. So the other explanation is they're not contesting in a few places. The places where they are doing badly, they're doing really badly. Those are all other hypotheses. So I'm not saying there's one answer, but I want you to think about any presented data and then say, look, what might be this? What might underpin this? What about the next one? Increase the run rate if it's too late. That is almost at the end. That's correct, but I want the answer for the run rate question. I want the answer to be more specific than that. Specifically, the team is scoring at a rate greater than the present rate, but less than the required rate. And so, greater than the present rate, that means your run rate will keep increasing, but less than the required rate, that means your required run rate will also keep increasing. If the current rate is 6, required rate is 10, you continuously score in between these two. You score at 8, the current rate will increase, required run rate will also increase. You score at 9, current rate will increase, required rate will also increase. Right? So run rate increases, required run rate also increases. You're continuously scoring in between your present run rate and your required run rate. This very frequently happens when you watch cricket. You can see this happening in every match where there's a good chase going on. The guys are planning. The required run rate keeps going higher, but they're relaxed. They know that they're within striking distance. They'll thump a couple of balls and they're back on track. Right? So the final question, S&P and UKIP. The party S&P must have been a narrow geographic focused party, whereas UKIP would have been a broad ideology based party. So if you look at an Indian context, the parallel I can think of is the left and a very strong regional party. Out of 543 Lok Sabha constituencies, the left, quite funnily enough, probably contests 350 to 400 and wins 25 to 30. You have a very strong regional party like Tamil Nadu. We have only 2 regional parties. They win every damn thing, but they're not any good, but they win every damn thing. So their overall pan-Indian vote share will be minuscule because they win votes in only one state, but they win seats. The 40 Lok Sabha seat, they might win 25 in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu itself accounts for only 7% of India votes. They've got 40% of that, so 2.5% vote share. You're getting 22 seats or 25 seats. Whereas a broad-based ideological party will contest everywhere and come third or fourth everywhere. The votes get distributed across the post. And so this is called the challenge of what is called as the first past the post system. In every constituency, the one person or party who's got the maximum votes wins. So a distributed vote share pattern is useless. Some other countries have a proportional seat distribution, so only your overall vote share matters, not your each constituency winning part. So there, the vested interest gets activated. You cannot say, look, you cannot find one constituency which has completely blinkered people with one idea, and then sell your idea to them, win that seat. Although your idea is counterproductive for everyone else in the world, everyone else in the country. That can be eliminated if you had a proportional seat sharing system. So you get 10% of the seats. Votes, you get this many seats. Whether your 10% came from 400 constituencies or just 40 constituencies, we don't care. And that's the other way of doing it. But think about the merits and demerits of these two. Reader. Most importantly, every time you see data, you should say, look, I want to know what this means, what is sitting inside this, why might this be an anomaly, what is the assumption under which this inference is made, on what grounds might that assumption be wrong. All of this, every time you see presented data on television, anywhere else, you should be asking yourself that your data tuning in, how to think about data will improve. Explain. The IM these days are heavily focusing on the interpretation part and not on the computation part. So keep it in mind. I quite enjoyed myself. Hopefully you had a decent time as well. I'm going to log off now, stop broadcasting on YouTube. I'll ping back to Facebook and see if there are questions and queries that we can answer. Next week, this time, we're going to have a session on data sufficiency. It's a wonderful top topic in CAT. Not been tested in the last few years, but it's a fabulous topic to have a recap of theory. Same time, Saturday 10 o'clock, we'll have a session on data sufficiency. Those of you who are thinking about taking GMAT, you should definitely attend that session because data sufficiency is 1/3 of the concept section in GMAT. So give it a go. We'll have DS, data sufficiency, 10 p.m. next Saturday. See you guys.